So the video was actually taking my voice, so now I'm going to continue. So here I am, I'm in the middle of the forest. Where am I exactly? I am in Barroso, Brazil. A very small town in the state of Minas Gerais. It's my fourth time coming into Brazil, and it's my first time in Minas Gerais. So I was going for a run, and I just felt like I really need to start getting my voice out there more, because the one thing that is the most important to me is this project that I call Advancement of Civilization Effort. So my name is Alix Claire Erie, and my initials are ACE, and the name of the project is also ACE, Advancement of Civilization Effort. So it's a huge, futuristic even type of project that I intend on working on for the rest of my life. Let the truck go by. And the website for that is advancementofcivilizationeffort.org. And I've put a lot of stuff on there already, but it still has a lot of development to do. I still have a lot of things that I've written, but have never actually had the chance to put them on the site yet. So let me tell you a little bit about my own story. I grew up in Louisiana, in the United States, in the country. Most of the first half of my childhood and adolescence, until I was about 10 years old, I grew up in the country. And I always had a very strong inclination towards spirituality and esotericism. I started having spiritual experiences when I was very, very young, and I could remember things. I can remember things happening even when I was in the womb of my mother and things like this. And eventually, when I started being very, very depressed at a very young age. And the first time that I tried to commit suicide or started, experimenting with suicide and death was when I was 11. And I tried to drown myself in the bathtub, which I knew wasn't going to work, but I just wanted to see how far I could push it. Because I was very sensitive, hypersensitive, and I always had, I felt things and I understood things more than most people, or at least what seemed like being more to most people, or at least that I cared. It seemed like I cared about things more than most people. Injustice and subtle forms of violence and subtle forms of lying and stealing and things that most people might not really notice or never even think about were things that really upset me already at a very young age. And I just felt like the world was really, it just hurt me a lot on many levels. I had a very difficult childhood growing up. I love my parents very much. I don't see them very often because they live in Louisiana, and I don't really go back there very often for several reasons. And I've decided to kind of leave and go into an alternative kind of lifestyle. Now, I spent a lot of my adolescence very depressed, and I was using substances. I used not so much alcohol, but I used a lot of painkillers, medical prescription painkillers, as well as antidepressants, LSD, marijuana, ecstasy, and eventually mushrooms as well. And it was a form of escapism, but I was also very curious about what existed. I was a natural scientist, and I was also very good in school and was in the math club and the engineering club and doing things with NASA and in the gifted program, and so I was a good student as well. And then eventually I dropped out of school 3 months before I was supposed to graduate. I had a lot going on in my life, a lot going on in my personal life, a lot in my health life. I was very ill from all of the medications that I was on. I was also very ill because I had a surgery done on my spine. I have a very long story. And I moved out of the house. I moved out of the house when I was 17, and then I dropped out of school 1 week later. I moved in with my boyfriend that was also using drugs with me, and he was 5 years older than me, and he was mildly abusive to me, and I ended up having to call the police on him a few times. And he was a wonderful person. He's dead now. He died a few years later of a heroin overdose. And I, after dropping out of school, went through a very deep, deep depression. And I kind of stayed in my bedroom with a blanket over the window, making it completely dark, like a cave, for about 6 months. And I was smoking pot and using my painkillers, and my boyfriend was at work most of the time, and it was just a really dark period, and I had a lot of very toxic people and situations in my life. And eventually, one day, I read a very small article in Oprah magazine about transcendental meditation, I think, about some kind of meditation dealing with Buddhism. And I started practicing that in my bed and washing away the bad thoughts and stamping on them like they were cockroaches. For about 2 months or 3 months I was practicing this, and eventually I kind of stopped seeing all of my friends, and I just really put limits on my life. And I isolated myself, and I eventually became, all of that natural inclination towards spirituality came back to me. I started becoming more sensitive again because I became much more internally focused, and I had one big experience, a rapid expansion of my body, a rapid expansion of my consciousness to the boundaries of the universe. It felt like I was expanding to infinity, and I could see places and things, like an astral expansion, basically. Not astral, but it was in this physical space. And it was a wake-up call for me. I knew I had something else to do in my life, and I ended up getting back into school for about 2 years. And then I took a vacation and I started traveling. I went to Vietnam. I was lucky enough to have the money to travel because of a lawsuit, some kind of a gift from the system to me, that system that I really struggled in for so long that I felt like a fish out of water in. I got a gift from the system. And I went and traveled, and I discovered new cultures and new ways of doing things and new ways of seeing the world, and new forms of unconditional love and happiness in places where people had very high levels of poverty, and I just traveled. I did a lot of traveling, and I eventually decided that it was time for me to get my yoga teaching certification because I was practicing yoga on my own. And I went to do my yoga teaching certification. There's some people talking over here. So I went and got my yoga teaching certification, and it changed my life. I finally found the philosophy, the system, the people, the feeling that I felt like the world was supposed to be like. And when I discovered Patanjali, the Yoga Sutras, it felt like it was something that I had written my own self, and I was just amazed. I felt like somebody actually understood me. I eventually went back to school again. I studied physics. I studied physics in Switzerland. I got my bachelor's in Switzerland in French. I studied physics and French, and then I was doing my master's in string theory, and near the end I decided to take another vacation, and I went to Brazil. I've set foot in 24 countries to date, but I'm tired of traveling, actually. Anyway, I went to Brazil for the first time, and there I had an experience that I'll talk about on another day. I had an experience that set off my Kundalini awakening. And over the period of about 5 or 6 months, I had a series of experiences that happened that were very strong, esoteric experiences that other people witnessed some of them. And I began developing, like, not only telepathy to a very high degree, but also telekinesis. And I levitated a bottle with a couple of other people, as well as I was able to move candle flames with my eyes, with my mind, on more than one occasion. People witnessed that. I had actual objects multiplying. I had, like, let's say I started with 8 oranges at one point, and then a few minutes later I had 9, and then a few minutes later I had 12. And all of these things were spontaneous. I never, like, tried to make it happen, but I was eating a very pure diet, very high in raw foods, almost completely raw at these points, and practicing yoga and meditation and breathing and chanting mantra on a very regular basis, like daily. Doing very deep practices, hatha yoga, basically hatha yoga and karma yoga and bhakti yoga as well. Doing a lot of devotion, and I started having invocations as well, divine energies being awakened in my body, or divine energies, divine vibrations, entities coming into my body. It's the same thing, whether they're coming in you or you're just awakening something within yourself. Already, it's the same thing. And what I realized is that we have powers inside of ourselves, we can do absolutely anything. Telekinesis is real. We can move objects with our mind without using big machines, without polluting the environment. It is possible to live completely in harmony with our planet and still thrive and become more sensitive and have these higher experiences and feel beautiful and feel wealthy and feel abundant and create and be creators and create our existence, have access to higher learning. We can learn about our entire environment. We can travel to other places. I'm sure after the experiences that I've had that teleportation is real as well. I mean, there's stories about it. I haven't experienced it. I've talked to people that have had experiences with teleportation, and so I believe that as well, because I've been convinced through my own experiences. And this is the inspiration. This was the first basic motivation for advancement of civilization effort, is that we can live without all of the competition, without the dog eat dog, without the consumerism, without the hierarchy. We can live as brothers, as lovers, as sisters, and one big family with the animals, with the planet, with the environment. We can travel all over without using the airplanes, without using rockets. We can travel to other planets. All of this is possible if we follow a certain systematic structure that opens up our inherent capabilities as infinite beings. Now, at the core of the vision of advancement of civilization effort is a community of permanent residents that eat only raw vegan foods. Because I have experienced that through eating raw vegan food, live foods, foods that come directly from the earth, we can become much more powerful, much more sensitive, have much more of a grip on our energy. We can harness more energy, and yeah. So that's kind of my talk for today. Go check out the website, advancementofcivilizationeffort.org. There's also a Facebook page, Advancement of Civilization Effort, and you can find me on Facebook as Alix Claire Erie, also as Durgananda Saraswati. I am going to make a video every single day to keep myself on track. Yesterday, I started again with vegetarianism. I've struggled trying to be a vegetarian for the last 10 years. I do it on and off for months at a time, and then something happens in my travels or where I have a weak moment. I was vegetarian for 5 months this year, straight, without breaking it, and then things happened, and I got weak. And so now I'm making the resolve. It's my resolve to be vegetarian forever. To move into that space, to let all of the violence and the stress and the suffering that comes with eating meat, letting all of that fall away. I'm detaching from that. And I am on day 2 now of my vegetarian diet. And so it is my resolve to be vegetarian forever. It's my resolve now to stop taking intoxicants forever. No more alcohol. I wasn't drinking alcohol at all for 5 months either, and then again things happened, and I started again. But now I'm putting my foot down and I'm saying no. Now it's really time for me to follow my dream, to walk my talk, and it's a bit embarrassing for me to put a video up like this where I'm talking about my weaknesses, but I feel like through talking about my weaknesses, and I make connections with other people, and I'll get support, and I'll be able to also this is like my psychotherapy session. So I'm going to keep making the videos every day and posting them on YouTube. So, okay. That's it for today, 22nd of December, 2014. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.